very good afternoon to you all, a very good morning for some of you, and certainly a good evening in some cases. Our friends in the South Pacific, I know it's already well into the night. Welcome to an hour with Treasury. We give you insights, updates, we share information pertaining to issues around the Treasury function of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I'm representing the Zimbabwe West Union Conference. My name is Ndama Sugu, and we hope you'll gain some insights this afternoon as we unpack the theme Tech and Treasury. I've got some great guests on the call today. Maybe before I do that, and as I introduce them, I would really appreciate you just dropping a comment or just a hello, a greeting, our traditional greetings like we were used to before the pandemic, where I bring you greetings from wherever you are. You remember those announcements? Seems like a long time ago. So just let us know where you are joining us from, and you're certainly welcome to join us and to add your voice as the conversation progresses. Like I said, our theme is technology and treasury. We're looking at the ways in which technology is enhancing innovations in tech, enhancing our treasury function, adding value to the way we go about our business as a church. And we trust that the contributors who are on the call today will also give us some very valuable insights around this theme. So without wasting too much time, allow me to introduce each participant. We have Elder Tembinkosi Moyo. He is one of our exports from our union to the SID, the Southern Africa Indian Ocean Division. When I say SID, that's what I mean. He's the Chief Information Officer at our division offices, and we are extremely excited to have him on board today. Our next guest is Elder Brent Burdick. He is the Sunplus Director at our church headquarters in Maryland in the United States of America. He will tell us a bit more about what that entails, what that role entails in a few minutes, but we're very excited to have him here. As the conversation progresses, you will actually realize why we're happy to have him with us, because of the his brief, without saying too much, the area that he covers is so pivotal to what we do as the Treasury function across the world. And last but not least is Elder Russell Riley. We need to bear with him. He is having some challenges with power where he is. And so if he drops off, he's not being rude or anything. He's done more than any of us to be on the call this afternoon. So we really appreciate the efforts he has made to join us. He's the Chief Financial Officer of the Cape Conference in South Africa. One of the luckiest men on the call. He actually gets paid to be in the Cape, believe it or not. It should actually be the other way around, Elder Russell. You should be paying the church to be living and serving in that beautiful part of the world. So, but we're so grateful to also have you on the call this afternoon. So, as we roll on, we remember I did ask for your greetings. This is very untypical of our people. I've only seen one comment from one of our team members in one of our local conferences, Daniel Dover. I'm assuming that's him. It's great to have you on the call, but I can see using other metrics that, we've got a decent crowd this afternoon. Now, Let me start with Elder Tembi. You are the Chief Information Officer of the SID, the Southern Africa Indian Ocean Division. What does that mean? And by the way, credit to the SID, because not many of our organizations in the church structure have this function. Can you just unpack it a little bit for those who are probably wondering what the role entails?
Okay, so thank you so much, Elder Nda. First of all, I'd like to thank the Lord and take this opportunity to thank you for inviting us to be part of this panel. And just to quickly go into the question that you have just posted, the role entails leading technology in the church. So, you know, SID covers 23 countries. So it's basically formulating a vision and a direction in which technology must take in that region. So basically, that's the primary definition of what the role entails. But into smaller segments, it involves coming up with the right technology that is needed to meet the objectives and the mission of the organization. So that's one thing. Making sure we have the right infrastructure as far as technology is concerned to be able to meet those goals. And then also making sure that there's some cost management in the process as well. As you know, technology can cost you everything you have. So making sure we have the right mix, the right balance between the cost of technology and what we need to do with it. So that's part of what it entails. And more recently, it has also actually evolved from just making sure the lights are on and making sure that things are working as they should, emails are flowing, internet connectivity is okay, to digital transformation, which is, I think, one of the most interesting buzzwords these days. I think we hear it everywhere. And that role also means that we need to make sure that the organization can adapt to new changes and new challenges and coming up with solutions that meet those challenges. It also means just basically leading in making sure that things are happening. That means advocacy, selling the ideas to our leaders, making sure we are moving together. And then last but not least, it also involves taking a lot of risks, because as we formulate solutions, some of them might miss the mark. And if you look at any academic literature in how technology projects fail, you will be surprised that almost maybe 2 or 3% of them actually succeed. So that means whenever you pick a solution and say, this is the way we need to go, you need God to really inspire you. And I think as we go in, you will see how the Lord has helped us to come up with some of the solutions we are currently using and how they've helped us in this time of crisis and COVID as well.
Thank you so much. I think that's a great sort of overview. And I'll be the first to say, I mean, the pandemic has kind of thrust your function in the spotlight. I mean, look at what we're doing right now. Most of us are still under certain degrees of lockdowns, and it's technology that has really carried the day. And I know not so long ago, you know, IT was kind of like a backwater function, and now everybody wants to really be have their finger on the pulse as far as what technology can do for them, more than ever before. So I'm sure yours is a hot seat. Yours is a hot seat, but thanks for that overview. And let me just switch to Elder Brent, because you're unlike maybe most of us, where if someone says I'm the Chief Financial Officer, someone already has a rough idea what the role entails. But when you walk into a room and say, I'm the Sunplus Director for the global Sunplus Director for the Adventist World Church, that's the beginning of a conversation, because they want to know what is Sunplus and what does your role entail. So if you can just maybe unpack that for us. Sunplus, what's that, and maybe what the role entails. Thank you.
Sure. I guess I'll start 18 or 19 years ago when I was the under-treasurer of the union in Canada. The Seventh-day Adventist Church in Canada is the name that that union goes by. And I was basically the controller, just a young church worker. And it was announced that the General Conference was initiating new software called Sun Plus, accounting software. And the General Conference had had some other initiatives in the past that hadn't gone so well. But my boss, the treasurer of that union, said, let's do it. Let's give it a try. And so we were one of the first, I'd say 5 or 6 sites of Sun Plus. That was about 18 or 19 years ago. I had no idea that, fast forward in time, that I would be the director of Sun Plus. And if you had told me I would be the director of Sun Plus, I wouldn't have a sense of the expansion that would have occurred over those years. So now today, Sun Plus is used in almost 1,000 sites around the world. These are administrative sites from conferences, missions, unions, divisions, General Conference itself. Then you have educational institutions all the way from academies to universities, and institutions, publishing houses, medical institutions, media centers, ABCs, that sort of thing. And if you count up, we're not able to clearly count the number of users that are actually using it, but it's probably at least 4,000 church workers are using Sun Plus. So it kind of started as a software package, but now we view ourselves as a network, because the beauty of working together and being a worldwide network is we're able to share and have economies of scale and train and support each other in a way that couldn't happen before, when everyone was using their own software. So that's what Sun Plus is. As the director of Sun Plus, I manage a team of there's 20 of us that are funded directly by the General Conference. A team of about 8 different managers of the different aspects, such as IT or configuration or support, documentation, training, those sorts of things. And then we have another 12 of us that we manage that are support personnel located in different parts of the world. So that's what I oversee as director of Sun Plus.
Wow. And thanks for connecting the dots between that initial implementation in Canada and where you are now. Because I mean, just it does a great job of illustrating just how this thing has literally exploded. I view it as an explosion, even from the time that I've been working for the church, and that's not very long. We've just seen this explosion of the Sun Plus function. I mean, we'll unpack it further as we go along. But thanks for that overview. Maybe just to quickly jump over to Elder Russell. Elder Russell, before we get deeper into some of the questions that I have for you. Oh, and he just dropped off. Okay. Oh, totally off the call. The beauty about it is we'll catch up with him when he comes back. I wanted to maybe let me go back to Elder Tembe. Elder Tembe, as far as you, I mean, look, you've been at the forefront of technology in the SID for, I would say, about a decade, if not more. And what would you say? I mean, you've seen a lot during that time. What would you say have been the kind of milestones, over that period? Look, if I'm to give an example, when I joined the Zim, it was the Zimbabwe Union Conference at the time, it was just a miracle to have a stable network throughout the morning, let alone the day, just the morning. And then now we're at a point where fiber is fiber is a given, and it's more about how much fiber can we get. So I'm saying, with you having that view across the division, I'm sure you have a lot more exciting milestones. What can you tell us?
Yeah, I think nothing has prepared us for the last 2 years, for instance. It seems like everything we've been doing was just preparing us for the last 2 years. Because when we started really focusing on IT as an organization, especially in Southern Africa, the focus before that was just making sure Excel was working and you could compute things on a computer. That was basically it. And email also started coming in. Connectivity was, yes, by the way, we need also to have internet and so on. But nothing would have prepared us for what has just happened in the last 2 years, because we started focusing on making sure that our union offices, our conference offices had stable connectivity, as you just mentioned. And this was with the idea that we need to start using video conferencing, cutting down on travel costs, making sure we efficiently use the resources that we have as an organization. And thank God, a vision came up that we needed to kind of start having a hybrid cloud. And when I say hybrid cloud, it's basically having a combination of servers in your office and some that are connected onto the cloud, on the public cloud, and so on for different functions. And SID adopted this objective. And about, say, maybe 5-6 years ago, we started investing quite heavily in making sure we had our own private cloud hosted in our small data center. And when we were at the time when we were doing it, we didn't know that COVID was going to come and hit us the way it has. And without really, it was a big term goal to make sure we were on the cloud. We had tools that could work remotely. People could work from anywhere at any time. We started eradicating, for instance, in our office, the use of desktops. Everybody started getting a laptop and making sure they were mobile, having internet at home, and so on. And so when COVID hit us, we were fortunate enough to be one of the few offices that were already ready to work remotely. We didn't have to buy any new laptops or set up new connections or set up systems that would enable us to work remotely. And this included even going paperless. Our Treasury office had already started paperless projects, and people were able to function without being physically present in their offices. And just that, you will see how God just started preparing us for the last 2 years in the whole decade that you have been talking about. So we had offices that then had already also started buying into the vision. And when COVID hit, we were able now to set them up, for instance, in our private cloud, set up SunPlus, as Brent has been talking about. Our accounting package was already prepared to host offices at the click of a button. At the snap of fingers, we were able to set up, and we are still setting up a lot more other institutions in that private cloud. And that, for me, is a major milestone because it was preparing us for these last 2 years. Many other things have come and gone in between, but nothing prepared us for COVID as much as us having that vision to say we need to be able to work remotely from wherever we are. And I would encourage maybe in this point that if there are any people who are in an office that is still stuck physically, you need to prepare. We don't know what else is coming ahead of us. And if you invest in infrastructure, in IT infrastructure, as we have kind of shown, we have seen, we will reap the benefits of doing that. Masuka, I think you are still on mute a little bit. That's the trending phase on online things now.
Where you see the mouth move, but nothing's coming through. Yeah. No, I was saying one thing I might add from what you said is that certainly COVID has made the roles of IT directors or managers so much easier when they come to the finance office, to try and get budgets to invest in IT infrastructure after what has happened. And because the value has been so clear, so tangible, and we're grateful that your testimony is that you had been preparing for it without knowing, of course, up to now. Elder Russell, we've got you back. I think let me jump onto you while you're still with us. The last time I addressed you and you dropped off, so let's see how it goes. First of all, maybe just give our viewers a sense of where you're joining us from, or where you are based, rather, which part of the world you're based, and then what I would also ask you to maybe speak to, because one of the main reasons why you're on this call, I've known you for a long time. I won't say I've known you from primary school, but I've known you for a while professionally. And one of the things that has always struck me about you is how you leverage, you're an accountant, but how you've always leveraged technology into your treasury functions. So when you've told us where you are and what that entails, just give us an idea of how you've used technology in the treasury work, just to give us an appreciation from your perspective. And you're also on mute.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I hope I'm not one of those who's going to talk for an hour. Am I on mute? I've unmuted myself here. Am I fine?
No, I'm teasing you. We can hear you. We can hear you.
I was sure my device could be trusted. All right. Yes. I was basically going to say that treasurers generally are hesitant to disclose their locations for security reasons. Back in the days when you used to carry bags of money, you didn't want people to know your route towards the bank, as one of the internal control measures. So we'll not really disclose the Cape Conference, which covers Eastern Cape, Western Cape, and Northern Cape of South Africa, which is quite a large portion of geographical area. Our head office is in Port Elizabeth, and we have smaller offices in Somerset West, Uppington, and East London. We have worked quite long with Tembi. I first met him when I was still working for Meals on Wheels at that time. That's the first time we interacted. Since then, we have interacted on a lot of things. And Tembi often knows when I say to him, I have a dream. He knows that I'm coming with a project that requires some serious IT solutions. I have personally always believed that making things faster, simpler, actually saves us a lot of cost, number one, and saves us a lot of time of doing unnecessary things. So even in our scenario, when the pandemic hit us, new systems in place, our entire treasury department is paperless, from payroll to payments, all the way to the auditing segment of things. It's entirely paperless system that we are currently running. And I definitely do believe that going paperless has
Okay, you've gone on, you've muted yourself.
able to adjust into that. So I was done. I hope you got the gist of what I was saying. I was covering.
Okay, all right. No, I think your connection is a challenge, but we certainly figured out you're somewhere in the Western Cape. Well, in the Cape. Let's just say in the Cape, and we got an appreciation of your philosophy on technology and treasury as a starting point. Maybe too, Elder Brent, what may still, what possibly still hasn't sunk in is the scale of the investment that the church has directed towards the Sun Plus software, so to speak, or the platform. Can you give us a sense of the magnitude of the investment in this area? And there'll be someone, or there'll be some quarters, some people who may think, oh, when they get to understand the magnitude, who may think it's too much. Can you also give us a sense of what the return on that investment is, just to give us perspective?
Sure. One of the challenges with technology, well, we've used the term infrastructure, and sometimes infrastructure is kind of like foundational. It's not necessarily the end product. It's the pipes and the water lines, in your neighborhood or whatever, the roads, things that people take for granted once they're there, but that things could be better when they're not there. So it's often hard to invest in infrastructure because you don't see the results right away. It's kind of under the surface a lot of times. So when I hear Elder Russell use the word dream, I also think a synonym is like vision. And so church leaders in the past have had a vision of what could happen when you have a certain level of infrastructure, and that it takes time to build infrastructure. So, from the General Conference perspective, the original kind of investment was in Sun systems, which for the church we call it Sun Plus, but it's software, commercial package used by many other commercial companies around the world. But that costs money. And as Tembi mentioned, a lot of times technology also deals with risk. You're making you're weighing the risk of a decision and knowing that sometimes, it may not work out the way you want it. But General Conference, Bob Lemon was a treasurer at the time. He had the vision that if General Conference invests in the licenses, and we're talking investment in the millions of dollars, with no one signed up, no one ready to use those licenses. In fact, many organizations saying, no way, we're happy with what we have. We like the status quo. But to have that vision and with the Lord's blessing to continue working, knowing that it's a long-term plan, that you're not going to see results right away. Now we see, about 20 years later, we see results. So there's that initial investment. And then now General Conference is making similar investments, going along with what Temi described as a private cloud. And we have some of that same experience that SID has had of starting to build that private cloud infrastructure before the pandemic. And at the time, not knowing is this worth the effort? Is it worth, is it actually the way technology is going? Is it just a fad? And then, the pandemic has revealed to us, that this is the way the Lord was leading us. And these kind of investments are making a difference. It's difficult in the church to make these kind of investments because, one organization, one local mission doesn't have the financial capacity to invest in something like a private cloud. Or some of, I think later we'll talk a little bit about security, or to, handle all the security issues, or, the rapid change in technology. And so, it's always, passed off to the next level, maybe the union can help us, or maybe the division can help us. And we all, have our challenges, but thankfully, the General Conference and the support of the General Conference officers and leadership has seen this vision where we can pool our resources and actually, get some great value for the church and kind of let local treasurers worry about other things and not have to worry about, well, is my accounting software going to do what I need it to do? Is it going to be secure? Am I going to have access to it? Do I have to hire an IT person? All these kind of questions. We're trying to kind of take that burden off of the local treasurer.
Yeah, no, I think, excuse me, I think at some point we'll really need to help our viewers appreciate what we're really saying is happening here. And I'll try to just add on to what you've said from a perspective from, say, I'll say on the ground, from our perspective closer to the local church. So we have conferences and the union, conferences and our union and certainly our sister unions here in Zimbabwe, whose ledgers are hosted, for lack of a better word, databases that store our financial information are hosted at the SID, okay? Meaning to say, and not only that, accessing that information can be accessed by anyone who has an internet connection. So what that has simply meant is that even our own accountants have been able to work from home, connecting to the SID, connecting to our, our data, which is held at the SID. So I think that's what you're referring to, Elder Brent, to the extent that where we would have had a challenge because our servers, our physical servers, would have been at the union or the conference, and then everybody needs to be at home. Our only concern now is a reasonable internet connection from anywhere to access that data. And you can imagine how many servers, how much we've saved in terms of the numbers, the numbers of servers that we don't physically have to buy in the various offices, and simply invest in an internet connection, which is certainly more sustainable. So I think I really wanted that to come through, to say that's how this is really translating. This big dream, that's how it translates on the ground, and that's how these multi-million-dollar investments are beginning to trickle back in as value, not only for the General Conference, but certainly even for the schools who are, who can access this more so as internet costs come down in most parts of our division. Yeah, and maybe let me jump onto, latch on to Elder Tembi, because there's the Adventist, most church members will be familiar with what we call the ACMS. What is it again? What? You're on mute as well.
The Adventist Church Management System.
The Adventist Church Management System, we've just called it ACMS for so long. But there's been an appendage to it in terms of the Treasury function that the SID has been in the forefront of really trying to push through. Even the SID president, I think, is singing the same song as far as this is concerned. Can you tell us a bit more about what this entails? And I know a good chunk of our viewers are in Zimbabwe. Can you also tell us maybe if there are any challenges that relate to our multi-currency situation here in Zimbabwe?
All right. So I think as from a bird's eye view, when you look at the functioning of the church, there was excitement when SunPlus came because it solved a very big challenge that we had. Each person was doing their own thing, and unifying the treasury processes was one of those big challenges. And I'm happy that SunPlus came and solved the accounting challenges that we're having at the division level, at the GC level, at the union level, and even at the conference level. So the next big thing was, now what do we do about the local church? Because we also had those similar challenges where each church was almost coming up with their own system, and some were still manual, and there were lots of challenges. And I will not be afraid to let you know that even some leakages of funds were happening at the local church at quite a significant level in some places. But then the introduction of the Adventist Church Management System is a solution that directly addresses the challenges of accounting at the local church level, at the member level, because this system enables members to even use their mobile devices to return their tithes and offerings. And all of that is tied into one system that is managed from the local church into the conference, into the union, and even into up to as far as the GC eventually. So the idea is we needed a solution that would help us not just talk about collection of tithes and offerings, but even membership retention issues, the ability to know what is going on, the business intelligence side of our operation at the local church level. I remember some discussions that we had with Russell some time ago, where we were saying we have invested so much at the higher levels of the organization, but where the front end, the shop front, the storefront, where the collection of revenue is happening, which is the tithes and offerings, there was not much investment in that. And we looked globally at what could we do? Should we write our own software? Should we adopt a solution that's been used somewhere else? And it was no-brainer. The Adventist Treasury Management System, which was already being used for membership, had a treasury module which we could switch on and start using immediately. This system was developed by the South America division, and we have adopted it and started using it here in the SID. And Russell will talk a little bit more about what he has observed, because his conference was the first conference outside of South America to be the first ones to use it. And now we are implementing it in the whole of SID. Now, coming to Zimbabwean context, Zimbabwe is a place of many interesting wonders and miracles that happen there. One of them being that the multi-currency situation there has its own challenges. And the ACMS project right now is semi-multi-currency, which means that we can collect tithes and offerings in different currencies. But as we go up in the system, the way that the accounting is done in Zimbabwe is kind of an interesting one. And we are currently in the process of collecting data that will then use to adapt the system to work quite efficiently in Zimbabwe. There are some quick wins that we already have realized that the system will help us with, but some of them still remain a challenge, and they will still be a challenge. Anyone who has done systems development at this level understands that you don't wake up with a working and functional system overnight. It takes 20 years. SunPlus has taken us a long time to adapt and to make sure it works in the way that the church operates. And that is the kind of challenges that we are still going to face in Zimbabwe. But hopefully, since it's software that's written internally, we are able to then quickly adapt it into the different scenarios that we needed to work in. I hope I've in the short time, I've tried to give an overview of exactly what we are dealing with as far as ACMS is concerned.
No, I think you've given us a good overview, to the extent that church members are now aware that this investment that has been taking place at say the corporate level of the church, for lack of a better word, is actually coming to their mobile phone, to their mobile device, in terms of how they remit tithes, return tithes, and give offerings, and how that money is accounted for at the local church. I mean, in all honesty, we could have had the whole session just on ACMS. So I think you did a good job of summarizing that. But it could be a good point to segue to Russell, in terms of what, like I say, one of the main reasons he's here is because the Cape Conference, like you mentioned, was actually the first conference where the ACMS Treasury module was actually implemented. For those who are joining us now, he may not, his video may be off, but we're hoping that he will be able to give us a sound, because he's having challenges with his connection. If you can tell us, Russell, your experience with ACMS your experience with ACMS in ACMS Treasury in the Cape Conference. What have been the benefits for the organization, for our members? In a nutshell, what can you say? Okay, you're a bit faint. Yeah. Okay. No, he's struggling. Let's take his presence as moral support. Maybe, Tembi, do you want to kind of cover for him? Can you hear us, Elder Russell?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. While we wait to see what happens with Russell. Russell, can you come through, or I should just go ahead?
I think cover for him.
Right.
The little
Okay,
we've seen is that he may be having challenges.
If you
All
can
right.
hear me, I can.
Oh yeah, we can
Yeah,
hear
yeah.
you.
we hear you. Maybe you can just kill your video, Russ, and then just go with audio. I think that might work out well for you.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know if you heard the question. No, I think Tembi, I think jump in for him.
All right, no problem. So
to the conference level, there is a lot of benefit.
Russ, you're on mute. If you can just try and mute and then continue, we were hearing you clearly this time. All right. While Russell gets his feet and his connection going, I think one of the direct benefits, you'll pick on the other ones, was the transparency in trust fund accounting from the member to the conference level to the union level. I'll give you a simple example. COVID hits, churches are closed. The dealing with offerings and tithes becomes a big challenge. And ACMS then comes up and says, okay, we have a mobile app, number one, that you can use to basically receipt for yourself. That's exactly what it does. So you are able to remit your tithes and offerings using the mobile app. If not, even when you do EFTs, you are to be able to get your receipts. For instance, getting receipts has been a challenge. Okay.
No, you can carry on.
Yeah. So getting receipts, for instance, I've had people who will tell you, I've not received any receipts because physical transmission of receipts has been a challenge for the past 2 years. So you now have a mobile app which you can access on your phone and even on your laptop, which says, okay, you return so much tithes and offerings. Here is the receipt, and you can independently verify and authentify and authenticate that receipt without interacting with the church treasurer, for instance. And that on its own is already a game changer as far as digital transformation of that area of things, of stewardship is concerned. So that has really enabled places like the conference to be able to manage and continue to function in that operation of stewardship responsibility, which is the collection of tithes and offerings. And there are many other examples. For instance, when the system is configured, we already do the splits that need to happen within the church hierarchy. And as somebody returns their tithe and offering, the GC already knows how much it's going to get, the division already sees, and all of that is done in a system that's unified and that works together with even the membership side. So it's not just about collecting revenue, it also interacts with our membership side of things. And I think the Cape Conference has really shown us that there are lots of benefits that we can derive from this system. I know people have been saying, but why can't we do our own thing? There's sometimes a misconception that software development is writing a Word document. Anybody can do it, and within an hour or two, the system is working. There are a lot of things, and I think Brent will talk about some of them. The security involved in making sure that you have a system that is tested and that is protected from, as we see, there's lots of hacking happening, ransomware happening. All of those are security challenges that come with the use of technology. And You cannot just pick any solution and go with it and expect it to then work out of the box. You have a lot of challenges that you still need to deal with. And ACMS, as I mentioned, South America Division has been using it for over 10 years now. It's a mature system. All of the bugs that we would normally meet if are being addressed actively, and that's what we latched onto, and it also has saved us a lot of time and money that it would have taken us to be able to adopt a solution that works during this time we are in, where we have lockdowns and we are not physically able to meet, to collect, and to exercise our stewardship responsibility. So those are just some of the benefits that I would quickly pick up. And I think Russell was going to talk about a lot more as far as even the workflow in the conference, how the system allows remote auditing of churches and monitoring of what's happening and picking up of issues as they happen in real time. And that's those are some of the highlights of the Treasury module we are talking about.
Does it let churches budget, do their budgets on that, on the platform?
It actually addresses the two types of budgeting that we have. There is the physical, the fixed amount budget, where a church can decide, okay, next year we want to use 10,000 for women's ministries, Pathfinders X amount. The system allows you to be able to input that. And it also then allows for the active collection. So for instance, if the church votes that for all the local church offerings, we are going to get 2% must go to this department, 3% to this department, the system also actively does that. And I should quickly say that for the local church treasurer, this is the best thing that has ever happened. I was fortunate enough to become a local church treasurer of my church, and I'm actually using the system, so I can quickly give you a testimony of how it works. But we no longer need to sit down to prepare for church boards or church business meetings. All you do is you go onto a screen, you pull out reports, and you present them, because the system is an active reconciliation between what's happening in the local church and the bank account. So the amount that you have in your bank account as a church is exactly what you have in the system. And as transactions are happening, the treasurer is updating and making sure that that is happening, and it happens so quickly and so efficiently. And I used to see the horror of church treasurers sitting for hours trying to balance the books. All of that is taken care of by this very efficient system. And I think just to add to your question, it reduces the amount of time and increases the efficiency that local church treasurers are able to enjoy as they use the system.
Fantastic, because one thing we often forget is that church treasurers are not full-time employees. They're volunteers. They're people who are giving of their time. Yes, they're serving, but they also want to enjoy the services like everybody else. And being a treasurer, church treasurer, sometimes can feel like a sentence to say, okay, so this year I'm carrying this this yoke.
This cross.
Yeah, so this cross, you're right. Yeah, so anything that can help our church treasurers, I think is definitely a plus. You know what we've done with Russell? He's switched his connection. We just want to see if we can hear him on this one. Russell, are you able? Can we try this one? Although he typed quite a few things on in our back chat. We'll get to that. So yeah, some of the other advantages.
Let's try.
There we go.
Yeah, let's hear you.
Yes, I hope I am now live, not dead. All right. I think Tembi must have covered quite a lot of the benefits of ACMS. I think for me, the greatest benefit is the fact that from the member all the way to the conference treasury department, things are happening real time. If you actually integrate your ACMS with the 7Me app, the moment the member remits their tithe on the app, the local church treasurer is also then able to pick up that transaction. And because everything is digital transaction, the conference clerks that are capturing the remittances
Okay.
from
Yeah. Okay. Look.
the, the churches are also able to pick that up the moment it has been submitted. And obviously, the local church auditors are also able to pick up. So that one transaction that happens, it makes your unidentified issues almost non-existent. Uh, um,
Okay. Maybe let's pause on Russell, because on my end, I don't know, he's kind of breaking off. But I think we got the point. He's dropped off. So look, I would say this is a great development that is aimed at the coal face of the work, and let's just pray. From our Zimbabwean perspective, we just hope that we begin to also progress our ability to benefit from it. And I know people are working flat out to come up with a fix for our multi-currency situation here in Zimbabwe. Maybe just to kind of change the topic completely, slightly, Elder Brent, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is you're a pastor, but you're also a CPA, you're a certified public accountant, and now you're at the forefront of the Sun Plus function of the church, which is pretty much technology. How can you tell us how you've managed to wear those different hats?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, I don't view it as different hats, because they're all part of the, say, tools that I use to do my job. First of all, I want to, give appreciation to the Lord and to the church and those who have kind of mentored me. And being a CPA, that was given to me by the church. Like, the church supported me and helped me become a CPA. The church, I never imagined that I would be an ordained minister. That was not something that I sought after or thought about or had in my vision. But the church provided that to me and gave me that designation and kind of put that trust in me. And same with my work title, as director of Sun Plus. It's not something that I sought after. It's something that the church kind of invested in me. And so basically you can call them hats or tools or whatever. They're nothing that I own myself. It's something that the church has invested in me, and it's a great privilege. And I think all of us, can see examples of where the church has invested in us, and how these tools fit together, and why I don't see it as different hats. Because first of all, whether you work in technology or whether you work as an accountant, if you work for the church, it doesn't matter. You're still a spiritual leader. You have a spiritual responsibility. So as, with a designation as a pastor, to me, it's kind of a good reminder and important for us not to get too focused on one thing without realizing that everything that we do has a spiritual context, and whether we have a vision for this project. Speaking about technology, many times it can be so overwhelming, and you see, advertisements, you see examples of other people using flashy tools, technology, and so on. And the technology can be pushed to us, but I see where it being more successful for the church is where we see a need, a spiritual need. I mean, that's the root of all of our, what we're talking about. We have a spiritual need, and how can technology help us fulfill that need? How is God leading us to use technology to accomplish His mission? Not our, pet project or some little, fun thing that we want to work on. So that's where I think being an ordained minister, helps give me that perspective, so that I can always frame all of this discussion in a spiritual context. And of course, being a CPA, that also kind of gives me a framework of professional approach, not just like one day waking up and say, I'm going to work on this, and the next day, working on something else, or, basically it gives me a professional framework, a way to systematically handle my responsibilities. And, when it comes to accounting, to be able to understand all the nuts and bolts of what are required, not only for the spiritual aspects of carrying forward our mission, but to make sure that we're being good citizens, that we are providing accountability, transparency to our members and to other authorities that we work and live amongst. So I guess that's how I would describe those kind of hats that you mentioned.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, you've responded in the humblest possible way. But let me say something. Let me be the first to say it's a blessing. It's definitely a blessing to be at that intersection of technology, accounting, mission, ministry, all of that, because you can speak the languages of groups of people who potentially may not be able to communicate adequately to come up with one thing. So most of the time you have an IT manager who's trying to convince the money guy as to why they need to invest in a certain technology. And sometimes you have an IT person who's seeing an opportunity for mission, but they have a minister who may not actually fully appreciate how this enhances ministry. So I'm saying, trust me, it's a blessing. I did ask the question as though there were three, but you've done a great job of showing us the value that God has placed in you, and we're grateful for that. Maybe just a quick question. There's a question here from Ayanda Dube. I think the question relates to ACMS. Is the module already deployed, or it's yet to be deployed? And if so, when can we expect to see it? Do you want to quickly respond to that, Elder Tembi?
Yeah, the module has already been deployed. When can you expect to see it? If you're in Zimbabwe, it will take a little bit of time, but currently we have one church in every conference where we are piloting it to test and get data back, which we will use to refine the system to work according to the scenario in Zimbabwe. So we are in the 3 unions going to pick up one church in each conference. We've already started with the West Zimbabwe. We've gotten our feedback from Selborne Park Church, and we were able to kind of do a trial run to see what are the challenges that we are facing there, and collect that data, take it back to the developers, and then make sure that we refine the system as best as we can so that it meets the requirements there. So this is a live system. It's already in use, just that the Zimbabwean context is always unique, and we just need to make sure it adjusts to that.
Yes, our time has left us so fast. Let me ask for just two closing comments from Elder Brent. Can you just speak to the security element? Because one of the biggest things, it's well and good we're talking about technology and all these things, but we know that it comes with risks. It comes with a lot of risks that pertain to breaches in security, data abuse, when those breaches are there. What comfort can you give people who are saying, okay, we can hear all these things, but is someone looking at the security element?
Sure. I guess I would start by saying security risk, it's not either yes or no kind of question. It's like a continuum, and there's trade-offs. You could pay lots of money to be like super secure, but then you can't actually accomplish what you're trying to do. Or you could do lots of things, but you're not secure, and you could just have everything destroyed in one day, and you have the whole range in between. And so for the church, it's a daily, question, where do we need to invest, and where's the balance? Of course, we hear a lot in the news that one of the biggest risks as of late is ransomware. And so, the big issue for us as a church is what happens if one day our data is not available to us. It's been disabled or taken, stolen, and they're asking for money to return access to it, that sort of thing. That seems to be, the biggest security risk as of late. So, as Tembi was talking about the private cloud and SID, and also we're developing our Sun Plus cloud for other users around the world. It provides a much higher level of security in the sense that there's built-in redundancies. You have more automation of backups, more processes to make sure that your backups are working properly and that you have access to them. And having, an offline copy of your data is probably the best defense against ransomware, because quite frankly, there are going to be breaches, there are going to be things that happen, and the question is how are you prepared to take care of it? Going back to the nature of working as a team and taking advantage of scale and professional competencies that you may not have in your local office, that's where I think we can help each other manage these risks. And when it comes to Sun Plus, we see our Sun Plus cloud, yes, there's some, say, minuses or disadvantages. You could say, oh, but I don't even know exactly where my data is if it's in a cloud. Well, for us, the data is at the General Conference headquarters, and we have a fully redundant site in another location. But nevertheless, the cloud setting is where we see being able to better protect the church's data from these kind of risks.
Yeah, but I think you nailed it when you said it's an ongoing, it's a millisecond by millisecond occupation to secure this data. And maybe to kind of round off on Elder Tembi's side, maybe just give us a sense of where we are going. In your view, tough question, but I mean, like, one of the things I'm just asking myself, maybe one of the things we need to start considering is, what if we've got church members who want to return tithe on Bitcoin and things like that? So those are things maybe we should be thinking about. but yeah, just a sneak peek of what you think the future is. I'd also asked Elder Russell, who's having a challenge with his connection, to also speak to encourage our accountants and people in Treasury in terms of being more to get a sense of where we are in Earth's history and raise technology a lot more. So what we'll try and do, we'll post some of his comments in the comment section after the event. But yeah, where are we going, Elder Timmy?
Yeah, that's a tough question. It's almost like saying, what's the crystal ball? What can we see in the future? And I think there's no wrong or right answer at this point, but there are basics that I think we all need to be aware of, which will help us adapt to be agile, as we say in technology, to be able to adapt to new changes quickly. For instance, there's no doubt you still need to have an internet connection in the future. So if I was in an office somewhere, I would make sure we come up with the best connectivity that we can afford at a reasonable cost. That would be something that we really need to be able to do. And as far as on the system side, we need, for instance, to me and Elder Brent need to sort out integration between ACMS and SunPlus, so that we don't recapture data which has already been done in one system in another. That's something that we can quickly, fairly invest quite a bit of money and get it done. And it would save us a lot of man hours and increase the efficiency and reduce the probability of getting errors between the two systems. That's something that we can look at into the future. There's lots of talk about blockchain. We might want to start looking at, are we able to do a global ledger? Something that I've just been dreaming of the top of my head. Are we able to come up with that kind of technology for our accounting? Are we able to get a system that will adapt even current systems to be able to accommodate Bitcoin payments, for instance? It's quite fairly simple to do on the ACMS side. We can easily integrate a module that handles Bitcoin payments as we go. And the idea is to look at what's current. Where's the church? Are we able to meet people where they are? Is our systems able to adapt where people are? I know we chuckle when we talk about Bitcoin payments for tithe and offering, but that's where things are going. And we need to have systems that are able to fairly quickly adapt to those new technologies as they come up. And that's one way of doing it. Have a system that is not just tied to one type of technology per se, but is able to adapt and to adopt new types of new developments as they come up. So I would say, for instance, there are basics that we'll still need to grapple with even in the future. Make sure our infrastructure is okay. Make sure our security is happy, so that whatever new technology comes up, our systems and our platforms are ready to adopt those new changes. And I see there's a question there.
Yes,
what about?
I put it up for you just to also answer.
That one's a simple one. This current system we have with ACMS, if you have WhatsApp working in a location, I'm almost guaranteed the ACMS module is going to work, because it's not a video or heavy data usage app. It's a text, very light consumption of data, and it will work anywhere where you have WhatsApp working. I'm almost certain that the app will also be able to work. So it will be a good idea for people to try. We've actually tried to test it in some far-fetched places, and it has worked for their local treasurers. You can actually run the whole system from your mobile device as a church treasurer, and that is something that we have seen as an advantage. So it's a very light data consumption app, and it will work wherever we have WhatsApp working. It will definitely work. And in cases where we really are struggling, the beauty of it is that even the conference office is then able to take some of those responsibilities and run them on the behalf of the church. So the church could actually say, for instance, collect all of their tithes and offerings and send them to the conference for receipting, and the system will also be able to work with that. So it's quite versatile and agile in different kind of setups that we have.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Maybe just as this one, I'm not asking you to respond, just a humorous one to say, yeah, it's well and good talking about crypto. Some of us are thinking it's the mark of the beast.
Yeah, just a quick one then. I think the church has already shown that we are able to evolve. We used to use gold as a means of returning tithes and offerings, tithe in kind and all of that. And right now we are going paperless. I mean, we use our mobile phones now to pay for things at the store. sooner or later we need to find a way of returning tithes and offerings in the current methods of use. So the mark of the beast is not Bitcoin, I can show you that. But yeah, that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah, and no one would have thought one day our church treasurers, like we have in our conferences, would be swiping the trust funds at the local church.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, we've overshot our time, but I think this is one area where I feel God has been great in terms of allowing you to be available for us to kind of shine a light into what is generally a sort of dark, hazy area for most people. And some may not even be aware that this is a function we have in the church. So it's gratifying to listen to you speak, to know that the church is thinking about some of these things, but also to say we have some great talent out there. We have great IT minds out there, even those who are not IT, but who have great ideas that can be translated into IT solutions. We want to hear from you. How can we do things better? It is your church, so help us to serve you better. And allow me at this point to thank Elder Russell. I think more than any of us, you fought the good fight to stay on this call. Thanks for being here. Elder Brent, I know it was it's early for you. You're yet to even go to church, but thank you for being available. Thank you for being available to join us on this call. And Elder Tembi, thank you for articulating some of the issues and also standing in for Russell in some areas, and also being able to speak the language that we understand in terms of the challenges that we have here in Zimbabwe, and answering some of the questions that I would have failed to respond to. And with that, thank you to everybody who joined us, the contributions. Pray for this part of the church function and be part of the solution. Help us to move this. This is mission. This is the work of the Lord in all respects. And with that, let's see each other next month. Next month is another interesting module. An installment of an hour with Treasury. We're talking about Treasury and ADRA and Treasury. So it will be an interesting discussion as we look at that intersection between Treasury and ADRA and unpack a bit of some of the work that is being done in that area. Happy Sabbath. May God bless you richly. And to our participants, please don't drop off the call, just so that we can just quickly debrief. God bless you all. Goodbye.